Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Mellow Marsh, and today we're gonna look at Yorick, the Gravedigger. Now, this video ain't really a tutorial just because that I don't know how to play this guy, so this video is gonna be somewhat of a first impression of the new champion. Now, as you guys can see at the stats, this is what I don't get. He's average in health, attack, and spells, and that he doesn't excel in anything at all, and just that I'm not sure what he does in general. He's not a support, he's not a tank or DPS. So I'm just gonna give you guys my opinion of the champion and what I took from a couple of games I played with them. Now, as you guys can see, look at my match history that trying playing with Yorick that I lost almost all my games. And then all my friends that played with them said, if you play Yorick again, we're not gonna play with you. So you guys see I move up top that once I play different champions, I start to win. And just that Yorick, I did win one game with him. I played around 6 games, and the one game I did win was because there was a Yorick on the other team, which balanced out the handicap for me being Yorick for them having another one themselves. So let's just get straight to the gameplay and let's see how it goes. So I'm gonna try my best to give you guys some tips and advice on how to play Yorick, but then again, I have been checking the forums, checking the comments in the right champion spotlight for York, and the general consensus is that he's pretty shitty and that no one knows how to build him and what to do. But I will say that the concept of York is really cool. He's like a mini necromancer. For some reason, he's an attack damage champion where he only scales off his spells off of attack damage, and most of his skills, in my opinion, are like caster spells. So to start things off, I want to say that the iron build I went for the beginning is a mana gem and 2 health potions, just um, because Yorick is a slash caster slash attack damage sort of champion. And if you guys haven't played Yorick before, if you try spamming spells, he will run up pretty quick. And because he's also a melee champion, he takes a lot of damage as well. He has no defensive spells at all. So that's why I went for Manjam, and I try rush into a Catalyst and try to get Murky Treads. Then afterwards, I try to get the Triforce, and after that, it's pretty much up for grabs. I'm not sure what to go for. I try to go to defensive, get Frozen Mallets, Warmogs, just something to help him keep him alive. And maybe a Phantom Dancer would be really good because he kind of lacks the chasing a bit. A spell that helps you catch up to champions. But you could say that his W spell does slow champions down, but it's kind of tricky and it's not that great in my opinion. So I'm gonna talk about his spells a little bit. So the skills that I get at the beginning is his W spell, and then next is his E. Now I know the champion spotlight that Riot put up, they didn't get the Q ability till like the later levels, but I still get level 1 at level 4, just because that you may never know, you may need it. Plus that when you summon the little ghost or whatnot, or that zombie, he does go off the passive where it gives him an extra 5% attack damage, and the ghouls that he summoned does scale off of Yorick himself, so that helps do a little extra damage. Now, I'd like to comment on a few of his skills that are similar to other champions in League of Legends, but at the same time, it's more like a GIMP version, such as his ult, where it reanimates a fellow ally champion, where it summons like Mordekaiser Ghost, and if the champion that you summon on dies before the ghost dies, it will reanimate them. But at the same time, I think they lose about 10% of their health for every 10 seconds. And pretty much it's similar to Zillion's ult, where it actually revives the champion and keeps them alive until they die again. So in my opinion, Yorick's ultimate is kind of useless when compared to Zillion's ults, where it's a lot better. And also his Q ability, where his passive is that if Yorick hits his enemy champion, it summons little ghoul or a zombie or whatnot. And when that goes out, Yorick will move 15% quicker. Now compared to Garen's Decisive Strike, where Garen will move regardless if he hits an enemy champion. Now once that spell is activated, he will move quicker for 3 seconds. Now compared to the Yorick skill, where Yorick has to hit an enemy champion in order to summon that ghoul to gain that movement speed, it's kind of, like I said again, a GIMP version of Decisive Strike for Garen. And just because of that, I think Yorick is he needs a buff, like a strong buff, because he doesn't do much at all because his skills don't do as much damage and he has no defense capabilities. So they need to buff him up in terms of spells and more defensive stats or give him something a little extra because in all honesty, I played maybe about 8 games with him and I lost 7 out of the 8. And the only reason, to quite honest, I won that last one was because there was a Yorick on the other team and we pretty much canceled each other out. In all honesty, I think if Riot made Yorick an ability powered caster champion, it would make more sense just because that the two spells that he uses, where I feel like that's his bread and butter skill, is his W and E, and those are both range caster isk like spells. And it sucks that it doesn't scale off ability power, it scales off of attack damage. And plus, Yorick is really mana dependent, and that once you spam his spells a lot, he runs dry pretty quick. And if you want to spam his spells constantly without worrying, you need the blue buff constantly. And just because of that, it doesn't feel like a melee champion to me, compared to other champions like Xin or Garen, where they're primarily melee DPS. Yorick doesn't feel that way to me. And if he was a caster, I can think of a couple of items that would help him greatly, such as Riley's Crystal Scepter, where it acts as a slow, gives him ability power as well, give him a lot of HP. It's like a tank caster. Because that essentially feels like to me, Yorick is a tank caster. And because of that, I think Riot should change Yorick or at least tweak him out to be a better DPS champion. So my opinion of Yorick has already been said and done that he's, to my opinion, an unfinished champion and a gimp version of other champions as well. So I'm gonna try my best right now to give you guys some tips on how you play him. Now the first skill that I try to max out first is Omen of Pestilence, and just because that's his bread and butter skill, where that's probably one of the spells you're gonna spam the most. And next is Omen of Famine. I use that skill to essentially heal myself and harass any champions. And Omen of War, I just get that at the end, maybe one level 4, just so that I have it, and who knows when you need it in a sticky situation. Now, Omen of Pestilence is where it will slow the enemy champion down. And in terms of damage, it does a decent amount of damage. Like I said, it's not a nuke, just because that Yorick scales off attack damage, and essentially for my Ion build, that I try to deal a little bit of attack damage at the same time, a little bit of survivability as well. So his spells do not get that much buff. So the two spells I pretty much chain together is Omen of Pestilence right after Omen of Famine, and then I hit my Q, try to hit the other champion, and that pretty much is it. The two summary spells I get are Ghost and Exhaust, just because that Ghost will help you chase enemy champions down, and Exhaust will slow them down, so those two work together um, pretty much without being told. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, essentially all the tips I have with Yorick. I apologize that I'm not a pro with him, just because that I played around 7 games and I'm still trying out new item builds. I'm maybe try to go for more attack damage and less tanky build, but because of that, I'm not sure how to play him. And for spells, pretty much I just spam whatever I can during team fights. I try to kill whatever I can, and with that, sometimes I get killed, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I find myself just dropping dead out of nowhere, not showing what to do. Just because that Yorick, like I said, you guys probably know how I feel about him, that he's an unfinished champion, but Riot will do a good job in fixing him, just like they did with Lee Sin. When Lee Sin first came out, he wasn't that great, but now I do see him being played in tournaments, so I do really like Yorick, to be honest, that his concept is really good. It just needs a little bit more tweaking, and that I would probably love to play him. So with my video coming to an end, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys find at least remotely useful. Hope you guys can take something with you from this game. And before I go, I just want to show you guys this last clip where I die. And when I play Yorick, I see this scenario a lot. And I hope you guys like my video, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.